Chapter 1, Section 2, this is Adept. We're going to learn how to read an imperial ruler or tape measure. I know it sounds quite simple, and it is, but it's actually quite surprising how many people do not know how to properly read a ruler or tape measure that is in the imperial system. So, here's how it works. Unlike the metric system, which is all based on multiples of 10, the imperial system, specifically for measuring something in inches, basically if you want to get to the next increment that's smaller, what you do is you keep dividing it by 2. So let's say you have 1 inch, then the next one would be a half an inch, and then half of that would be a quarter of an inch. Then the next one down would be an eighth of an inch. You keep going, you get a 16th of an inch. So you actually have to work with fractions a little bit more. So a basic imperial measuring tape usually measures to the nearest 16th of an inch. Okay, but some of them actually go a step further and they go to the nearest 32nd of an inch. Okay, that would be a little bit hard to read here, so if you look at all of these, okay, so here's the 0 marker, here's 1. If you count the smallest increment here, okay, there are 16 of them. So that means each of these represents 1/16th of an inch. So let's read where these measurements are. Okay, so each of these is a 16th of an inch. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so really this is 12/16ths of an inch. Okay, now that is the correct measurement. However, if you were working for someone and they asked for a measurement and you gave them this number, they would probably look at you kind of funny, okay, because it would suggest that though you can read it, you don't really fully understand what the numbers mean. Whenever you have a fraction, if possible, you should always reduce it. Okay, and 12/16, well, both of these are divisible by 4. So to say it properly, you should actually say 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to use the quotations here for inch. And that should be obvious because look where the arrow is. Okay, see these little hash marks are different sizes. Okay, here's 1 inch. This would be half. Okay, and each of these would be a quarter. And the black arrow happens to lie on one of them. Okay, so 3/4 of an inch. So that's how you should actually quote the measurement. But at least in the beginning stages, if you want to just count how many 16ths of an inch you have and then reduce, well, that's fine too. So over here, notice how the arrow has passed the number 1. So this is going to be 1 inch and something. So I'm going to put the 1 in right now. Okay. So let's count. From the 1 inch marker, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So it's technically correct to say that this is 1 4/16ths of an inch. Okay. But again, it would be silly to quote that as a measurement to someone else. You'd always want to reduce that fraction. And 4/16 is just a quarter. So this is 1 inch and a quarter. All right, let's do the next one. So if we just count from 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Each of these is a 16th. So really this is just 10/16ths of an inch. But how would you actually quote that measurement? Well, you always just reduce, and both of these are divisible by 2. So that gives you 5/8 of an inch. And I can illustrate that just like I did above here with the quarters. Okay, there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so there are 8 of these in here, each of which contains 2/16ths of an inch, and the black arrow happens to be on the 5th one, so that's 5/8. But if you just counted 16ths and you get 10 of them, you would reduce and get 5/8 as well. Okay, over here, our measurement is still less than 1 inch, so I'm not going to put a 1 here. And that looks to me like it's on an 1/8 marker. But I'll still count the 16th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So this is 14/16 of an inch. Okay, but we should reduce it. Both of those are divisible by 2. And I was right. This is 7/8 of an inch. And if you divide this into 8 pieces, that black arrow will sit on the 7th one. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But there we go. So it's 7/8 of an inch. All right, working on the bottom 2 here. Here's our arrow, and that is on the 16th markers. Just count. So this is 1, 2, 3. 3/16. But wait a minute. That fraction is not reducible. So that's actually the best we can do. So this is just 3/16 of an inch. Okay? Because this is as fine as this particular ruler will go. There you go. Over here, notice how the black arrow is bigger than 1, but less than 2. So I've got to put 1 complete inch here. And then we'll just count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I can write the 9/16 here right now because I know that this is not reducible. Okay, so that is how you would quote that measurement. And just to finish these off, what the heck, put some boxes around here. There we go. So in short, whenever you're reading measurements off an imperial ruler or tape measure, just make sure you always reduce your answer as much as possible, and then you're good to go. Now for some more unit analysis, multi-step. We want to convert 0.015 miles, 5 feet, to inches. So what this means is we're given a measurement, but it's just broken into 2 different units. Okay? And we want to convert the entire thing to inches. Now there's a couple of ways of doing this. One way is you could take each part, so 0.015 miles, and the 5 feet separately, and you could convert that to inches using 2 different calculations, and then combine them together to get a final answer. That would work absolutely. Another method that could use, and that's the one I'm going to do, is to actually take your original measurement and combine it into 1, and then just convert to inches in one shot. So the question is, should I convert the 5 feet to miles, or should I convert 0.015 miles to feet? Technically, it doesn't matter. But since I'm going to go to inches, and it's easier for me to go from feet to inches, I'm going to convert this one here to feet. So let's do that. So it gives me 0.015 miles, and I want to go to feet. Okay. Well, there are, for 1 mile, just about rolled it wrong spot, 5,280 feet. So the miles cancel, and I just get to multiply. So I work that out, and that gives me 79.2 feet. Okay. Now I'm not going to convert that to inches yet because I want to combine it with the 5 feet. Now you should be able to add 5 to that quite easily. That's 84.2. So to get my final answer to the question, I'm going to convert 84.2 feet to inches. And once more, this 84.2, that comes from this, but then adding the 5 feet here. And then I can go to inches in one shot because I know that 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches. So those cancel. All right, multiply by 12, and I get 1,010.4 inches. So there we go. That wasn't too bad. All right, let's do another one. Convert 2 feet 9 inches to yards. Okay, so I could convert 2 feet to yards, and then separately convert 9 inches to yards, and then add up the 2 numbers. Or I could convert this to one measurement, either in feet or inches, and then convert to yards. Okay, so I'll go to inches. Why not? So this 9 inches here I'm just going to leave as is, and I'm going to convert the 2 feet to inches. Now I would hope that you would just know by staring at it that's 24 inches, but I will demonstrate unit analysis because I like it so much. So 2 feet, and we know that in 1 foot that's 12 inches. So those cancel. I'm left with inches, of course. That is 24 inches, which we already know. All right, so I'm going to convert it to yards, but I'm going to combine with this 24 the 9 inches, and you should be able to do that in your head. That's going to give me 33 inches. So that is going to go to yards. So if you happen to know that there are 36 inches in a yard, you can use that. Or you can just say, well, I know there are 12 inches in a foot, so my inches cancel, but I need to go to yards, so I know that there are 3 feet in 1 yard, so those cancel. That's what I want. So what is 33 divided by 12, because that's the same as multiplying by 1 over 12, and I want to divide by 3. And I'm going to get a decimal, so I'll write a little dot here, just means approximate, and that's 0.9, I'll say 2, and this is yards. And I'll put a box around here, why not? So there we go, just under a yard. All right, unit analysis applied to weight and volume. So far we've looked at unit analysis for length, a bit of volume and mass, but now we're going to look at incorporating weight. Now just a side note, weight and mass are not quite the same thing. They do differ, and one way to think about it is like this. A person that has a mass of 80 kilograms, that doesn't change. It doesn't matter whether they're standing on the planet Earth, if they're standing on the surface of the moon, Mars, or they're floating in deep space somewhere. They still have that same mass of 80 kilograms. However, their weight would be different. So if someone's on the planet Earth, their weight would be a certain number, let's say in pounds. But if you were to stand on the surface of the moon, your weight would actually be about 1/6 that of the weight on Earth. So mass is kind of inherent. Weight depends on gravity. Just a little side note. All right, so let's do some basic conversions. So we have a ton. That is 2,000 pounds. 1 pound into ounces. Well, 1 pound is 16 ounces. And for volume, we have the gallon, and that is equal to 4 quarts, or QT. But then we have the American system. So the gallon, or is often known as the Imperial Gallon, is slightly bigger than an American gallon. But an American gallon is the same as 4 American quarts. Convert 1.2 tons to ounces. Okay, well, we know we can go from tons to pounds, and we can go from pounds to ounces. So this is a 2-step problem. So I write 1.2 tons. Okay, and I'm going to go to pounds. So in order for the tons to cancel, I have to put it down here. So 1 ton, that is 2,000 pounds. And then to go to ounces, the pounds have to cancel. So 1 pound is 16 ounces. So my tons cancel, the pounds cancel. I'm left with ounces on top, which is what I want. So I work this out. 1.2 times 2,000 times 16 gives 38,400 ounces. Next, convert 4.3 American quarts to American gallons. Let's do that. So 4.3 US quarts. And we're going to US gallons. So that's just 4-to-1. That's easy. But I want the quarts to cancel. So that means the quarts go down here. which means the gallon goes up here. Okay. So the U.S. courts counts it like that. This is the unit I want. So really all I have to do is take 4.3, multiply it by 1 over 4. In other words, just divide it by 4. And I get 1.075, and my units, of course, are American gallons. Okay. If you're wondering how can you go between American gallons and imperial gallons, well, there is a conversion for that, and you will see that very soon.